Katie, we are back to make a delicious broccoli quinoa salad with a buttermilk dressing.
Yum.
So I'm gonna have you help me start and make the dressing.
Okay.
So we're gonna start with 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk. So
Okay.
if you just wanna add that to that bowl. And then to that, you're gonna add 2 tablespoons of each olive and vegetable oil.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna have you measure those from here. And the reason why we're using 2 different kinds of oil, which is typical in a salad dressing, is that olive oil can be a little overwhelming in flavor if you use all olive oil. So that's why they have you split that ratio so that it's 2 of each, so that it doesn't taste too olivey, because we really want those flavors to come through of the lemon and all the other things. So there you go. And then we're also gonna add some lemon juice. So while you measure that, I'm just gonna zest a little bit of lemon, because we need zest too. And like I said, you always wanna zest before you juice your lemon. And then you can go ahead and add that lemon zest to your mixture. There you go. And then we're also gonna add some lemon juice. So you want about a tablespoon of lemon juice. And then to that, we also need a little bit more acidity. So if you wanna add that, that is unseasoned rice vinegar.
Okay.
You kind of see a theme here. I use a lot of unseasoned rice vinegar. I think it's a nice neutral flavored vinegar. So if you wanna measure a tablespoon of lemon juice into that dressing.
Okay.
And then our favorites, salt and pepper. Can't go anywhere without them. I'll take that. So just add a good pinch.
Okay.
Yep. And then I'm gonna have you whisk, and we're both gonna taste it.
Okay.
You really just kind of want to get that all emulsified, get the oils all mixed in with the acid and the buttermilk. There you go.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have you taste it and tell me what you think, and then I'm gonna see if I agree.
Tastes great.
That is a really good dressing. I would maybe use a little bit more salt,
Okay.
considering all we're gonna have going into this dressing.
They're really fresh and it's great.
The lemon comes through in the zest and the juice, so a little bit more salt, then give it a whisk, so just a pinch more. And then I'm gonna start cooking our broccoli. So as you can see, I have some florets that have already been cut. And you just wanna make sure they're all similar in size, because they're gonna cook at the same time, so you want them to cook evenly. So any that are really big, you can just kind of tear apart, and I think we are good to go.
Okay.
And so I have our pot here, pardon me, our pot here of boiling water. And we've been talking about salt. It's really important that you add salt here, because this is your chance to get flavor into that broccoli.
Never knew that for broccoli.
Yep, same with pasta. We're gonna be cooking our quinoa in this water too, so that's gonna impart flavor. Now, since it was already boiling, I wanna be really careful because it could boil over. So, again, a good amount of salt. So you saw that, that's almost
a lot of salt.
A lot of salt. I'm gonna let that come back up to a boil, and then I'm gonna add my broccoli, and I'm just gonna let it cook until it's bright green. I still want it to be tender, but I want it to be crisp at the same time and nice and bright. So I'm gonna drop this in now that it's back to a boil. And I'm gonna keep an eye on it, but I would say maybe a minute or 2. And then I'm gonna put it into ice water. And this technique is called blanching and shocking. And it stops the cooking process immediately, and so that it keeps that nice bright color, and then it doesn't cook. We've talked about carryover cooking and how things will continue to cook. So if you could grab that spider and just kind of give this a stir so that it's cooking evenly, and we'll check on that in just a minute. There we go. So we just want that to come back up to a boil. And in the meantime, if you could measure out 2 tablespoons of our buttermilk dressing, and then this is just 1 shallot that we've minced so that it's nice and fine, and it's gonna go into our salad too. So 2 tablespoons.
Just gonna add this into here?
Yep, onto the shallot, and that's just gonna layer that flavor. So when we put our salad all together, the shallots are gonna be seasoned, the quinoa is gonna be seasoned, the broccoli, so we'll be all ready to go. Yep, so add those 2 tablespoons, and then we are gonna get some herbs ready. So into the salad, we're gonna have parsley, and we're also gonna have tarragon. Now, are you familiar with tarragon?
I've heard of it, I've never used it.
Okay, so whenever you haven't used something or are familiar with it, I always encourage people to try it, because then you know what the flavor is gonna be like that you're gonna be adding to your salad.
Okay, licoricey.
Yes, definitely licoricey. It's a classic, flavor combination with parsley. but yes, licoricey. So we're not gonna probably wanna use quite as much of this as we are with our parsley. Now for the parsley, instead of chopping it like we have been, I wanna do a very, very rough chop. So in a lot of ways, you still want it, like if it's this small, let's leave it intact and we can just toss it into our bowl that's gonna be tossed with everything else. So if you could just pick these, give it a very rough chop.
Okay.
Almost still so that they are these beautiful leaves, because I want you to look at this salad and know that there is parsley in it.
Okay.
So if you could just pick some and chop some, and if they're really small, you can just toss them in.
Okay.
And then another element of our salad that we're gonna be adding, I have chopped pistachios here. These have already been toasted up. I love pistachios.
Yeah.
And this is going to add some crunch to our salad.
So toasting again.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
The
great.
toastiness. So these are salted and toasted, and it's gonna add crunch, it's gonna add flavor. All of those textures are really important in the flavor profile coming together and being complete and being delicious. One of those salads where you take a bite and you say, this is really, really good. All right, so I'm gonna check on this broccoli. Bump up my heat a little bit. You can see it's nice and bright green, but I think it's still gonna be a little firm at this point. So we'll give it just another 30 seconds or so, and then I'm gonna take it out and put it into my ice bath, and then from there, I'm gonna go on to this paper towel lined tray.
Now, I never do this at home. Am I serving mushy broccoli?
Well, if
Probably.
you're just serving it as a side dish,
Right.
it's okay because, I mean, you want it to
Okay.
be warm, it is a side dish, but in the application of a salad, we want
Okay.
it to be cold, we want it to
Gotcha.
be bright. So
Okay.
no, you're not doing anything wrong at home, don't worry. All right, so I think this has had enough of a chance to get nice and crisp tender, as I like to say. So I'm gonna move my ice bath over here. And I'm gonna use the same pot for my quinoa. I love doubling up on things like this, that you don't have to use more water, use another pot.
That's
This
easy.
is a one pot. All right, so just take it out here. I love using a tool like this for taking stuff like this out of boiling water. Has a nice long handle. All right, so you just wanna make sure it's submerged in that ice. And then we're gonna add our quinoa. So I have red, I have white, I have black quinoa. I think I'm gonna use the black today. They have slightly different flavors, but they're interchangeable for the most part. So you can use whatever you have on hand. So that's 1 cup of quinoa. And then I'm gonna give that a quick stir.
And how long do you cook this for?
This is gonna need about 12 minutes to cook.
Okay.
So let's come over here to the broccoli, and if you could help me kind of fish these out, make a little room
Okay.
on the board, and put them onto that paper towel lined tray. And when you take it out of the tray, or take it out here and put it on the tray, you want to do it so that it's floret side down like this. And the reason why we're doing this is because we want it to be nice and dry when it goes into our salad. Broccoli, it's a little bit like a sponge, so it's going to hold on to that water, and we want to make sure that we're not putting a lot of watery elements into our salad that are going to kind of dilute things. We want it to be fresh and crisp and bright and really absorb our dressing, because that's where the flavor's
All
happening.
showing up on that paper towel. So.
Exactly, it's taking all of that water away. So your parsley looks great. This is exactly how I wanted it, so that you can see those beautiful parsley pieces. And to that, I'm gonna add some chopped tarragon here. Just a little bit. It's gonna add a really nice flavor, but too much can be overwhelming, so I think that's the perfect amount. And once our quinoa is done cooking, I'm gonna take that out and allow it to cool. So we just need to give that a few minutes.
Now, I've never cooked quinoa. I have cooked it like rice before,
Right?
where the
It
water
absorbs all the water.
Yeah, is
Just a
that
different
just
technique.
a different method of cooking it? Okay.
Yep. And you can also cook rice in that method. You can cook rice like you
Oh.
would pasta, where you would strain it.
Interesting.
So all kinds of techniques that you can
Yeah.
kind of intermix there. All right, so it's been 12 minutes. Our quinoa is done. I'm just gonna go ahead and strain this. If you could clear the decks on our cutting board, and we'll assemble our salad. All right, our quinoa is perfectly cooked. Looks great here.
Now, did you rinse that, or do you need to rinse?
You can rinse it
quinoa?
if you want to cool it off immediately, or
Okay.
if you have some time to let it cool, that's great, because you don't want to make your herbs too warm. So you definitely want to let this cool a little bit before you would move on with your salad.
Okay.
So now, if you could take a little bit of this dressing, I'm going to pour this in here and just kind of eyeball it. You want to add a splash of dressing and then just mix. We want to layer those flavors. So
Okay.
maybe add a good spoonful and then just give it a mix, and we'll taste it. And actually to that, you can add our shallot, because that's going to
Okay.
add more dressing and more flavor. So continue to mix, and then we'll taste that. Then we'll know the salt level of our quinoa. It'll tell us a lot of things on how to proceed with our seasoning.
Okay.
Take that.
Pretty good.
It's already pretty good.
Yeah.
I think you could use a little more dressing.
Okay.
So why don't you add a splash more and a sprinkle of salt. How do you feel like the herbs, do you feel like there's enough flavor coming through with the tarragon? Did you taste the tarragon?
I did.
Okay, great.
Yep, really fresh.
Great.
Great flavor.
Okay, we're ready to add our broccoli. Now I'm not gonna add all of it. I wanna keep some of these smaller pieces to use as garnish on the top of my salad. So I'm gonna do that. All right, you can go ahead and give that a stir. Preserve these pieces.
This is gorgeous.
Isn't it pretty?
Yeah.
You can see how bright that broccoli is from the blanching and shocking. All right, I think another taste is in order. What do you think?
That's great. Can taste the added salt that we added in there.
We're ready for our
A
pistachios.
little crunch.
Leaving some for the top. Go ahead and give that a stir.
Okay.
I'm gonna add a tiny bit more tarragon.
That looks great. And that little tiny bit of the shallot, the purple, you can see it with the quinoa.
And it's almost pickled in that dressing in
it's
the time
gorgeous.
it's sat there. So once that's nice and mixed, I'm gonna have you put it in this bowl.
Okay.
And we're just mound it up as much as you can. And you'll have a little leftover dressing, and that's okay. As you can see, it makes a lot of different things taste delicious. So just keep
Yeah.
that in the refrigerator, and it'll keep for at least a few days. There we go. I'll help you mound it up. Try and get that height with our broccoli. And then we're just going to use a little bit more of the pistachio as garnish. And how beautiful is that?
gorgeous.
And quinoa is so good for you. It has lots of protein and amino acids, so this really here could be a complete meal.
Great.
So thanks so much for joining me once again, Katie. It's been a
Thank
great
you.
class.
It's been great.
All right, I say we dig into a little bit more. We've earned it.
All right. That's good. You could just eat that on its own.
We've covered a lot of territory in Fast, Easy, Fresh, from pork chops to pasta and broccoli quinoa salad to roasted cauliflower. You can find these recipes and more Bon Appetit classes online. We'll see you next time.